My love for the Dragon Ball franchise can't be stated highly enough. It's the reason that I'm even aware of anime to begin with, but it's also the reason I was almost late for school at multiple times growing up. And aired weekday mornings on a local TV channel, specifically Dragon Ball Z, because I watched them out of order. It was all down to one man, a legend named Akira Toriyama. He had been having minor to moderate success with one-shot mangas such as Wonder Island, Tomato the Cutesy Gumshoe, and my personal favourite of those one-shots, Go Go Ackman, as well as his gag manga, Dr. Slump, which in all honesty I'm only really aware of through their crossover with Dragon Ball in the original Dragon Ball anime. But in 1984, Dragon Ball made its debut, which would garner over 6 million weekly circulation to Shonen Jump, after being reworked from an early manga called Dragon Boy, which I've read and also is very good. Initially inspired by Journey to the West, an old Chinese folklore, and later inspired by Superman, an American folklore in its own right, it would go on to have 519 chapters over the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z parts of the manga. Other later Shonen Jump mangas would pass that amount, but it's still rather impressive for the time. Side note, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z were considered one long manga in the original Japanese version, or only separated for the English language version because people were more familiar with Dragon Ball Z at the time. Which I think is a pretty interesting side note, but your mileage may vary. This would be adapted into an incredibly popular anime franchise, including spin-offs and non-canon entries of the franchise. Which to many people just means stuff they don't like, rather than stuff that's technically not canon. The main character, love him or hate him, no, not him, no, not him, no, not even him, yep, that one, Goku, would inspire characters in the future, always being a template for main characters in Shonen Jump manga, a la Superman for the superhero comics in the West, including, but not limited to, such classics as Luffy in One Piece, whose creator Ichiro Oda has cited inspiration from Dragon Ball in interviews, being a massive fan of the franchise himself. Yusuke in Yu Yu Hakusho, who while not exactly like Goku, has some very similar traits to Goku, like the Blood Knight persona that he gets during fights. And Naruto, who's very Goku coded. They were all inspired by Goku or Dragon Ball in some way. So Akira Toriyama's magnum opus, the Dragon Ball franchise, has inspired a lot of manga in the Shonen Jump part of the manga world. I'm convinced that Kinnikuman, or Ultimate Muscle as it was called in the dub of the most recent version, wouldn't have gained as much popularity if fans of Dragon Ball Z hadn't thought, oh, that looks a lot like Dragon Ball Z. Note, I mean tone, not art style. Along with the rising popularity of wrestling in North America. One of the anime and mangas that I said has been inspired by earlier, Yu Yu Hakusho, finally made its debut in English in the 2000s, was able to ride on the coattails of Dragon Ball to introduce it to the West, where people might have not heard of it if it wasn't for Dragon Ball. Which, by coincidence, had been dubbed by Funimation, the dubbers of Dragon Ball. Well, I say coincidence, but Funimation was dubbing like 99% of the anime at the time, with Chris Sabat voicing probably about 40% of them. But that's not where the influence of Dragon Ball ends. It has constantly been referenced in American media, most notably in a scene from Malcolm in the Middle, but also there's been numerous references to it in other anime and manga, too many to list in one video. My favourite being the giant Piccolo homage in One Punch Man. They even got Christopher Sabat, the English dub voice of Piccolo, to voice him. If you don't think Dragon Ball is a major success, you think it's not a proper anime because it's not detailed enough, or it's not complex enough, which is a ridiculous reason to discount anything really, because enjoyment isn't based on how detailed or sophisticated it is, it's by your personal enjoyment. Just think the fact that it's still popular all this time afterwards and it's still getting new content. Could you say that about most of the sophisticated anime that have come out now? That probably only be popular for the first time people watch it and then they'll get a bit sick of it.
Not to say more content makes an anime or any media better, but the fact that it keeps going and people still want to watch it says a lot.
I mean, many manga of the 80s and 90s have become obscure in modern day, even though they were popular back in the day. But Dragon Ball has remained popular and well known, even to people who don't like anime or manga.
A rarity in any geek media, even to this day.
So it's very possible that Toriyama may have had the magic touch for it to become successful and remain successful, even when he wasn't directly involved in it.
Even some Western media haven't been that lucky.
And to that, I salute you, Akira Toriyama, for introducing me to the wonderful world of Dragon Ball.
All of which I love, such as the wacky world of Dragon Ball, the more serious action-oriented world of Dragon Ball Z, the mixed world of Dragon Ball GT, the similar to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and Dragon Ball Daima, which I haven't watched yet, but I'm sure I'll enjoy. I may have been very different without Dragon Ball in my life. I certainly would be less into fighting anime, that would be for sure. What a horrible world it would be without Dragon Ball in it.